The Sovereign Individual is a commonly recommended book that puts forth the idea that countries will compete for people. It's something that we talk about here at Nomad Capitalist a lot. And today I'm going to share with you my thoughts about countries competing for your business. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. This is Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. And The Sovereign Individual, great book if you haven't read it, essentially talks about the idea that you should be a client, not a citizen. It was the precursor to what we talk about here, which is the idea that in this day and age, in the 2020s especially, you can go out and sort of treat the world as a buffet. You can go where you're treated best and say, I want to live in this country, and they have great personal tax rates and a lifestyle that I like, or they have more personal freedoms. I'm going to be a citizen over here because they leave me alone and I have great travel privileges. I'm going to keep my money over here. It is diversifying yourself around the globe, picking the best that every country has to offer, because no one country is best at everything, let alone anything. And so I want to show you a question that someone asked me recently, a dialogue that I had. And my position in this dialogue was that in this day and age, the world has changed. So many countries have opened up. There are so many more options. I have mentioned historically Malaysia. Go and look at Malaysia in the 1990s before the Petronas Twin Towers. Look at where it was at. I remember talking to a guy recently who was there in the 80s. It looks nothing like what it is today. They are now a very high-level economy. It has changed dramatically. You have so many stories like that around the world, including new economies that were just totally under lock and key back then. In the 90s that now are open, and some of them are doing okay, like let's say Georgia, some of the ex-Yugoslavia countries. Some of them are very much up and coming, like a Cambodia, like in Uzbekistan. So there's all levels, okay? And my idea was that the world today is like one of those 24-page tourist menus where you see, if you're ever like in a tourist destination, and they got everything. They got pizza, they got Subway sandwiches, they got, they got Asian food. You want a salad, like they got it all because they want everyone and anyone to come in. And that wasn't always the case. I mean, you didn't have that many options before, and so I think that people need to change the mindset of thinking, hey, it's either the US or it's Canada or it's Australia or like maybe Portugal. There are so many places. And so the question is, someone asked me, are you bullish in our future? Do you believe more countries will compete for productive residents or citizens like us as predicted in The Sovereign Individual? Sometimes I'm afraid we'll have less options. I think my grandmother would say fewer options in the future. And so here's how I look at it. We've seen, for example, the UK, no more investor visa. We see a push in the EU to get rid of golden visas. Will you be able to move to Europe if you have a business? Yes, I think so. I think that the English-speaking countries of the world are going to consistently be difficult, whether in Europe or elsewhere, but you'll see plenty of very developed countries where if you start a business, it could only be with maybe one employee, could be with 20,000, 50,000 euros, something like that. There'll be plenty of places where you can go and start a business. Now, is it the most effective place to start your business? In some cases, it's not bad. Such a country like in Estonia, Lithuania, these aren't so terrible. In some countries, it's absolutely terrible. I mean, living in Portugal and having income from somewhere else, not so bad. Running a business with employees in Portugal, not so great. Okay, and so there will be opportunities for business. I think you'll continue to see places like the UAE, the Cayman Islands, others, which will stand out saying, hey, open your business, you can come and live here. Those are more expensive, so probably not as good for someone who's just starting out in business if the goal is reducing living expenses as much as possible, but you will see places doing that. What you won't see as much, I think, is Western countries saying, hey, buy a €500,000 house, put $1 million in the bank, invest 2 million euros or 2 million pounds in our stock market and come on in. Why? Because what we consistently talk about, the same reason why you want to be diversified, higher taxes, more regulation, more pushback, less social cohesion where you live, that's going to be the case in other Western countries as well, where politicians will pander to the electorate to say, hey, we're not going to let these people bring $1 million to our country and pay more in taxes than you would, or we're not going to let people bring $2 million and not even come and use any of our services. I mean, how dare they? The gall, right? If someone's going to invest $2 million in a country, they're there 3 days a year because they don't have to live there. They just want the option to live there. You know, they're not driving on the roads. Their kids aren't going to the schools. They're not using the hospitals. How dare these people bring their money to our country? That's the attitude, right? It's you're buying your way in. That's the way it's always worked. And I don't know that I would look at it as buying your way in. I would look at it as when you do something that's valuable to a country, they should do something for you. But the whole value proposition in those Western markets is skewed. Now you have some countries in Southern Europe which have just gone so far in the wrong direction. They're now open for business. Portugal, Italy, Greece. I don't know that Malta and Cyprus ever did anything that bad, but Greece. Greece has a tax incentive now. Greece will let you come and buy real estate. And I think maybe that a program like a Greece survives longer because I think it's very difficult to get Greek citizenship compared to other European programs. A program like Latvia that's so infrequently discussed and is probably not going to lead to citizenship for most people probably survives. The Bulgarias, the Maltas, the Cypruses, you could live there perhaps, but to go in some kind of fast track for citizenship that's commoditized, I think those are more difficult. So if you're a business and or if you're willing to live there and or if you're willing to pay some tax, there will be some places, especially in the developed world, in the South, okay? But the general vibe is, hey, who are you to think you can just come and give us some money? Now, the other side of the world, the non-Western, the non-legacy brand countries, and I would say the countries that haven't hit rock bottom yet. Again, if you're Greece, you're like, holy cow, we gotta bring somebody into this joint because we're really falling apart. Italy, same thing. I think you will see more countries ratchet this up. Now, certainly what you've seen through the pandemic is you've seen a handful of countries that have become a bit more jingoistic, where the border officials have become nastier, where the electorate has said, let's keep these people out. But by and large, I don't think that'll be the issue. And I think anyone who tries to raise their prices in certain parts of the world may eventually bring them back down. So look at Thailand, for example. Thailand has an investor visa. Thailand has an elite visa. Thailand has a good tax policy. Thailand is relatively flexible for crypto investors and all kinds of new things that are going on. Is Thailand going to change that? No. And Thai real estate prices are relatively high right now, but I think there's a different mentality in a place like that where, hey, if you want to come and buy 10 million Thai baht or $300-some thousand in real estate, I don't think they want to stop that. They want to bring more hard currency into their country. They want more investors coming. They want more people coming and bringing their dollars. I did a kind of a back-of-the-envelope study once, and it's been a while. But when I was in Malaysia, I figured that even if I lived there a third of the year, and they've since changed the tax laws to be a bit more aggressive, but not that bad. But if I lived there a third of the year, I really didn't have a tax obligation in Malaysia because I wasn't living there enough. But I figured living there one-third as much as everybody else who had the average job in Kuala Lumpur, not anywhere, but just in the city, I was still paying more in taxes from eating at restaurants and buying things than someone who lives there 3 times as much and is using services. They are going to the public hospital. They're not going to Prince Court and paying privately and contributing further to the economy. They're going and they're using government services, right? And so I think that there are plenty of countries that will have that attitude because, yes, they do see it as a competition. Legacy brand countries, we call them that for a reason, because they attract people even if they haven't done anything good recently. People, to a certain extent, will want to move to the United States either to get a job at a tech company or something like that, either because they're economic migrants, or I suppose some people, they just like the prestige of it. If you've ever been to parts of Asia, for example, parts of Latin America, there are people who want to live in the U.S. largely just to show off to their friends. I've seen little examples. I've had people, hey, oh yeah, the Chinese relatives visit. Come through our 5,000 square foot mansion. Look at how good we have it here in the United States. That's part of it. I think every country has the go-to place where everyone tries to live. Maybe their friends are there, they want to network. That's a thing. But I do see growing migration. Look at migration to Greece under the Golden Visa program. A lot of these kind of golden visas in southern Italy or southern Europe have done very well. You see growing numbers. You see more people getting Caribbean citizenship. And you've seen some amount of increased interest from those people in actually moving to the Caribbean countries. You have great weather, you have a tax-free climate in many of them, or several of them. And so I see more citizenship by investment programs coming. I don't see prices going down because I see demand going dramatically up. In fact, I think prices will probably go up in the long run, especially for new programs. Look at, for example, North Macedonia's program. But yeah, I mean, countries that are in trouble will do this. Look at Turkey. They wanted hard currency to come in. Hey, buy real estate. You literally buy an apartment in one of the most significant cities in the world, you get citizenship. You can sell it in 3 years if you want. Or you put your money in the bank and you get it. Is Turkey canceling that? There's always rumblings they're going to raise it a little bit, or eventually they're going to get rid of it. But it's not this thing where they're constantly trying to get rid of it, as the UK was always looking for a reason. Oh, the Russian oligarchs, that's the thing today, to get rid of the investor visa. Why? Because Turkey may have some aversion to saying, hey, here's your citizenship. That may be a political issue for someone in the opposition to say, why are we giving away our citizenship? The UK was never offering citizenship. You still had to live there if you wanted the citizenship. You just had the right to live there with an investor visa. So there may be some aversion among certain groups in a country to, hey, we don't want you to become one of us so easily. But there's really not so much aversion, in my opinion, comparatively to please bring your money in. Southeast Asia has always been open to wealth. Singapore, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia in particular. You have wealth, you can come and put it in our banks, you can buy a property, whatever it may be, here's your residence. Do I see some of the top tier places making more demands like a Singapore? Yeah, they already have, because they don't need everybody coming. You know, I'll put $50,000 in the bank in Singapore. Yeah, great, nobody cares. Right? I mean, you couldn't even find a bank as a non-resident to open an account for you with $50,000 in most cases. But you know, even some of the more established countries in Northern Asia, South Korea, same thing. I just think that the Western world is very unique in terms of pushing back on people wanting to bring their money there. So again, you have countries that really, need the tax dollars. You have countries that want the investment, want the hard currency, like a Turkey. You have countries in Southeast Asia which have always been open-minded, have always been open to wealth. And I think you'll continue to see countries in South America, which just, by the way, Central and South America are just very open in general. They are in the new world. They're used to having immigrants. And these are the ones where they're competing for you in the sense of bring your income. More than Asia, where it's bring your wealth, bring your income, bring your pension. If you have a salary, do you have some kind of income? That's more what you're looking at in Latin America. And so I wouldn't even call that them competing. They're just realizing, hey, if people want to come in, let's let them come in. So, I think perhaps you'll see some African countries start to open up. You do have programs in countries like South Africa, but perhaps less interesting. I mean, Egypt put together a citizenship by investment. Obviously, you have in the Middle East, is from Bahrain to the UAE. Those countries have residence programs. Yeah, countries want talented people. Will they ratchet up the stakes? Will Dubai, will the UAE become a bit more competitive to get into? Will they say, hey, what's 1 million dirhams for real estate now? In the future, it's 2 million. I can see them doing that. By the way, the UAE didn't do that. They just said, oh, if you invest even more, we'll give you even more. It wasn't even, we're raising the stakes. It's just, oh, we got a new thing. It's even better. And the old thing's still there. So this to me is fundamental. Smaller countries that are looking to make a splash, that are looking to bring companies that can become successful. All the countries that have these emerging Silicon Valleys, they want people to come. Countries that want hard currency, countries that need tax dollars, countries that need people. These are going to be wide open. And so there's a lot more countries like that than countries that are pushing people away. What I'm telling people very much right now is if you are from a Western country, the US or anything like it, and you're only focused on the other countries like it, you're going to think there's nowhere to go. If you open up to all the places that are welcoming, the ones that we mentioned, you'll find an endless number of places where they want you to go. But that requires making a little bit of a lifestyle shift, making a few adjustments. And so with that, the sovereign individual's idea of being a client, not a citizen, going where you're treated best, I think is really more alive than ever. Don't stop now. We've got well over 1,000 more videos here on YouTube for you to watch and learn how to go where you're treated best. And if you want to work with Nomad Capitalist personally, go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, learn about our unique, tried and true process, garnered over years of experience, and learn how you can become our client.